Now, Nigeria's electoral body is ramping up security preparations, for the upcoming Anambra governorship election, which is now less than 70 days away. Now, INEC gathered security agencies, civil society groups, and media representatives in Oka on Friday for a crucial workshop. The focus was on preventing electoral violence, addressing logistical challenges, and ensuring strict adherence to voting procedures for the November 8th poll. Now, at this meeting, security agencies pledged their full support throughout the electoral process. Now, while the Department of State Services commended INEC's preparations, they also called for an expanded voter education campaign to combat voter apathy. INEC officials described this election as a vital test of Nigeria's democratic resilience and promised to intensify stakeholder consultations in the coming weeks. Well, for an assessment of the preparation level of INEC and other stakeholders, including political parties, the Southeast Organizing Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC Chief Dozie Ikedife Jr., joins us now. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday. And of course, in terms of preparedness, we just talked about two very critical issues. Number one being security, and number two being voter apathy. Now, coming off the back of the by-elections, how would you assess the state of these two situations in Anambra today as we prepare for the elections in November?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I think that INEC did well, and I think that INEC is prepared for the November 8th election in Anambra State. But however, part of our worry, part of our concern is what we saw in the last election, in the last senatorial by-election in Anambra State. And of course, the one constituency House of Assembly election, where the state government showed a lot of desperation and unleashed their armed thugs on the voting public of Anambra State. And that was unfortunate, and it made it appear as though that INEC didn't know what they were doing. And part of the unfortunate situation is that armed policemen and armed thugs are not allowed at the polling centers on election day. But what we saw in my constituency, because I'm from Nnewi, not local government, what I saw in my polling center was where the local government chairman, Echezona Anazodo, was parading around the polling center with armed policemen. And that is not acceptable. But unfortunately, the policemen that supervise the elections are not armed. So what happened in Anambra State was that the government showed a lot of desperation. And I could not understand why a professor who says he loves the people, who is governing Anambra State in the midst of serious insecurity, will be shown such desperation to win. I thought that being that he was helped to the seat of governance by the previous governor, Governor Obiano, that he should have shown some civility and some level of maturity, coming to the center to say that he's a progressive, and then coming to Anambra State and unleashing thugs. You know, one of our senatorial candidate in the person of Sir Azuka Ukwosa, he was held hostage by the state majority leader, you know, some of the mega, the state majority leader in the House of Assembly. He came there with over 100 armed thugs in the name of, the armed thugs were members of the Udogachi vigilante group that was set up by the governor of Anambra State to harass and to maim the citizens of Anambra State, rather than helping to secure Anambra State. So what I'm saying is this: I believe that we have put the Inspector General of Police on notice. We have put the federal government on notice that we are hoping that our governorship election will not be marred by such armed thugs on election day. It's unacceptable. We should just allow the INEC to come and conduct free, credible, peaceful elections. Because the truth of the matter is that there is a lot of anger in Anambra State. The citizens are angry at the non-performance of the state governor, and the citizens are ready to to put him out of office. And I believe that when we have a peaceful, credible election, that Nigeria will see how unpopular our governor is, and he will exit. You know, because the mantra in Anambra State right now is anybody else but Saludo. Anybody else but Saludo. But I say that the alternative that we have is Prince Dr. Nicholas, Okachukwu as APC governorship candidate and Senator Mrs. Ikedife as a deputy governorship candidate. We are presenting credible alternative to the non-performance of what our current governor is doing. Lives are being lost every day in Anambra State, and this governor for 3.5 years did nothing. It was just only in January this year that he quickly assembled his ragtag security outfit with no training, and they're just running amok, killing our citizens. And not only that, he's using thugs on the streets to collect taxes in Anambra State, and we call them Ndiakodo. And the traders and business people in Anambra State are tired and sick and tired of being maimed. These Adkodo people, they come with pistols on the streets, and they cripple people. It's not acceptable. My question is, why would a governor who should love and care for his people be sending citizens to the hospital and be sending citizens to their early grave?
Now, Chief Dozie, you've spoken extensively about these issues, but what I would really like to understand is how do you explain the will of the people, and the desire of the people for change, considering that the ruling party at this time has, give or take, been in power in Anambra State since 2007, from Peter Obi to Willie Obiano, and now to Chukwuma Charles Soludo. How do you explain the willingness of the people to say we want change if we keep seeing the same thing happening in every electoral cycle? And you spoke about your candidate, interestingly, how would you describe his readiness to take on an incumbent come November 8th?
All right. You have to understand that Anambra State electorates are very smart people. In Anambra State, you could see while Ifeanyi was alive, he won the election, the Senate election, on the platform of YPP. And then in the other constituencies, Labour Party also won some, and Apoga also won some. Anambra State are smart people. They vote on individual. They look at your face and, if they believe in what you're doing, they will support you and they will vote for you. Our people go to exercise their franchise. And what I'm telling you is that being that I live in Anambra State, I'm there, I'm there with the people. And Soludo has lost popularity in Anambra State. So all we're saying is this: let our people be given the atmosphere to go and exercise their franchise November 8th. And you will see what the results, the results will be very clear, and Soludo will be gone. But then our governorship candidate, Prince Dr. Nicholas Okachukwu, is a man of God. He's a God-fearing person, and he's been supported by Senator Ikedife. We have a very robust manifesto. Okachukwu is talking about employment for the citizens of Anambra State. He's talking about security for the citizens of Anambra State. This current administration has not brought in any direct foreign investments in Anambra State, and the people that are running the economy are leaving the state in droves. People are scared. You can't go to Anambra State and sleep with your two eyes open. I would have expected that Soludo should have declared some level of state of emergency as far as security is concerned. There are local governments where citizens cannot go and do business in. And you have to understand that, unfortunately, on Mondays, the first day of the week, the first working day of the week, Anambra State is on shutdown because of what we call sit at home. And I can't understand why people in the neighboring Enugu State are not doing sit at home, and the neighboring Delta State, they're not doing sit at home. But in Anambra State, our economy comes to a standstill on Mondays.
But
and we have a professor who says he's a professor of economics, who has done absolutely nothing for our people to go and find what they can feed their families with on Mondays.
Chief,
it's quite pathetic.
I do hear you, but some critics could argue with you that as at the year 2023, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, there was about an estimated $4 million attracted, Anambra being the only state in the southeast to attract that much foreign direct investment. And most recently, Governor Soludo also commemorating the construction and semi-launch of a new complex that is supposed to boost, industrialization and employment for the people of Anambra State. And you speak about the sit at home, specifically for Anambra, but would you agree that insecurity is an issue that we have seen in the East? How do you juxtapose what you're saying to the fact that some of these challenges that you have mentioned are not just Anambra issues, these are issues that are experienced in the East? And how would your candidate, Ukachukwu Nicholas, in terms of his own manifesto, do things differently? What would he do differently if he does come in?
Well, I have to say this. When you're elected as governor, your primary franchise is to protect lives and property. And I'm not worried about other states in the Southeast. But I want to tell you that when the governor of Enugu State came on board, the first thing he tackled was insecurity in Enugu State. And Enugu State is very peaceful. In Imo State, our leader has tackled insecurity, and we have relative peace in Imo State. If you are governor of a state and you cannot protect lives and properties of the state, then you have no business being the governor. You should just do the honorable thing and resign. But what I'm saying is this: Ukachukwu has been affected by insecurity in Anambra State. His brother has been kidnapped in the past. His expatriate workers have been kidnapped in the past. And he has vowed that the first thing that he will tackle as governor of Anambra State is to make sure that every citizen of Anambra State can go home and sleep with their two eyes open. And with their two eyes closed.
How does he intend to do this, Chief? How? Because you would agree, it's, again, emotion is not sufficient to run a state. Neither is it sufficient to run a country. Promises we have also seen are not sufficient to run a state or a country. I would like you to, in the next few minutes, just give us at least few seconds actually, we don't have much time. Give us at least one active decision or leading to an active decision. As much as we do sympathize with him on the kidnap of his brother, emotions are not, or sentiments are not enough to really sway the people into trusting or believing that anything will change.
Part of what the government of Ukachukwu is going to do is to call the stakeholders together. The government of Ukachukwu is not going to be fighting our traditional rulers and then fighting the trade unions and fighting the community leaders. We're going to bring the stakeholders together and determine what can be applied community by community. Government has to show seriousness in tackling security, and Ukachukwu as governor has vowed that part of what he's going to do is that he's going to invest a lot of resources to make sure that peace and security returns back to Anambra State. It's not rocket science. Governor Peter Mba has done it in Enugu State. The governor of Imo State, our leader, is doing it in Imo State. And so in Delta State, it's being done. It's not rocket science. But I'm not going to come here and start saying this is what Ukachukwu is going to do. But we have a very robust manifesto, and we have laid out plans of what he's going to do, because the primary thing that you have to do as governor to tackle insecurity is the willpower. A government of Ukachukwu will have the willpower and display the willpower and the courage to lead from the front. You cannot lead your troops from behind. You cannot lead your troops being in the government house and saying that you'll be fighting insecurity in Anambra State. Ukachukwu is going to lead from the front. He's going to take the battle to these people. Anambra State is very small as far as landmass is concerned. And we have enough technology. We have the air technology. We have enough technology and to stop this once and for all. The non-state actors are known by many people in government. Soludo receives a lot of money as security vote. All he has to do is to deploy a greater portion of his security vote in fighting insecurity. We have the police in Anambra State. They are doing well. They have to be supported. We have military base in Anambra State. They are doing well. They have to be supported. So we have to deploy enough personnel on the ground and support them and give them all the infrastructure needed for them to succeed. You have to understand that the people perpetuating terror on the citizens of Anambra State are human beings.
Yes.
They're not aliens. They're human beings, and they are in Anambra State.
Yeah.
So when we deploy the manpower that is needed, this can be achieved in 30 days. And I promise you that Governor Nicholas Ukachukwu and Deputy Governor Uche Ikedife will tackle insecurity in Anambra State in the first 100 days. Chief
Dozie Ikedife, I think this is a very pivotal time for Anambra State, considering it just celebrated 34 years of its founding fathers, especially. So this is a very important time, and we look forward to seeing how your party and candidate performs in the November 8th elections. Thank you so much for joining us today on Newsday.